I'm Poppy Simpson. We're a family business.
First, I'd like to bring up Linda Nickel, the writer and director. So, Linda, we'd like to present you with our award for the best screenplay for Poppy. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for that. Because the film, I was going to say this now, took nearly 12 years to get funded.
Had 3 different producers involved over the years, and finally, we got someone who could raise the money, and it was made with the help of our New Zealand Film Commission and obviously a few I would call it sponsors, but they were really people who wanted to support the film. So yeah, the script, thank you. It started off as a short story from the boy's perspective, from Luke's perspective, and then over the years it developed into Poppy's perspective, which was by far the best way to go. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. So you want to take a seat?
Should I go to the far one?
Jason Stewart is coming up here. Jason is a friend of ours. He's a veteran of over 200 film and television credits and theater, and also a really well-known stand-up comedian. So we're proud to have you here. And welcome, Jason Stewart.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. How about a big round of applause for Linda for creating such a wonderful, heartfelt film. I have to say, it was quite moving and very, very, oh God, we have Oprah lighting.
Yeah.
Oh, all of us, we're going to look like
it's not a ring flash, but it's out there.
Yes,
yes, that's right.
Yes. I have to say that the story was quite compelling, and it's probably the first time I've seen a narrative story with a Down syndrome actor in the leading role. So let's give a big round of applause for that. I think that was really, really wonderful.
No, thank you for that. I must just say that Libby, we got 22 young women came forward for the role, and after the casting process was finished, Libby, her grandmother phoned us, and I just went round to her place and just went, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And she could just do everything.
Really?
Yeah.
She lived in your neighborhood?
No, she lived a couple of cities away.
Oh,
just,
okay.
Just a little way away, a 2-hour drive. And so I went and I thought I'll just take my phone and I'll ask her to do a few things like learn a little role, like a narrative, and be able to say that. And it was one of the ones at her parents' grave in the story. And I asked her to do that. First of all, I just sort of talked to her. Then I asked her why she should have the role, and she told me why exactly. What
did she say?
Well, she said, A, I can do it, and B, I can dance, and I can act. I've done classes, and she was well prepared. And so we did that, and then I did like a fake sort of Andy Warhol screen test on her because I wanted to see what her face would look like just,
on film.
And asked her to think about something sad and something happy, if just for a minute. And so she did that. She put her makeup on. That was the first thing. That's right, I'm forgetting that now. And then I said, oh, can you do some dancing for me? So we put on Born This Way, and she was just a star. All the dancing in the film, she just did herself. There was no choreography involved.
Wow.
Yeah, very talented.
Well, really creative. What I really thought was really wonderful was that the story was her point of view, and the story was also in the point of view of the brother, who I hear is Jewish and single. And,
I think he's married, actually. Sorry, he's very
Please
cute.
I don't want to hear about details. This is the wonderful actor. His name is Ari Boyland, which immediately Boyland. You have to.
Yeah.
How did you find this wonderful actor? And tell us about him. Did he come into audition? Did you call him through his agent? Did you know his work?
He did do a tape, and I just thought he was great. Him and Stu were up for the role because Stu's a very talented actor as well.
Which one is Stu?
That's his buddy.
Oh, so they're both up for the same part.
Yep, and Stu was a little bit older and we also decided we really needed a very good-looking leading man to deflect from his drinking habits and other things, so that you might just feel a little bit more forgiving towards him.
Oh, okay. Well, I forgive him.
Yeah, but you see, the hilarious thing was I really wanted him to take his shirt off, but of course
When he came out of the shower, that's it.
Yes,
Yeah, I was
but-
thinking the same thing.
But unfortunately, he'd put on weight over lockdown.
Oh yeah, he was obese, just obese.
And he wouldn't do it. I was
Oh my
like,
God,
I'm
just
sure this is in your
absolutely-
contract.
Absolutely awful. I would have just,
Yeah.
I would have told him he's fired if he didn't.
So he came, and he was over in New Zealand. He was living in the States at the time. He came over, and I had to meet him in his caravan, which came off the transport ferry from
Caravan?
South Island. Yes, he was in a caravan, and so
Oh.
I interviewed him in a caravan. He made me a cup of tea, which had that sort of fake milk.
Well,
in it.
what is a caravan
Like a caravan, just an actual. He was coming on a boat which takes cars
my
and
God.
caravans from the North
That
Island.
would have been enough for me to give him the role.
Yeah, well, it was. It was. Yeah.
Had you seen his work before?
I'd seen a little bit. He was he was a child actor actually.
wonderful.
He'd been in some early shows in New Zealand, and then he'd gone to seek his luck overseas and tried for, the US market, which he was sort of doing well at. But he came back to New Zealand and in Australia. He's been doing really well lately. He's been in a couple of series. So
Well, I can see why.
Yeah.
He has a wonderful sense of reality, and he has a wonderful sense of detail.
Yeah.
And I think what I really liked about the film and your DP, tell us that your director of photography,
Yes.
was the details of reaction and transitions in going into things. He really understood how to take the camera. Was that thing you and I worked together with him
Yes, it was a bit of both, because I always like to hang on the end of a scene after the dialogue's been delivered just for a little bit, just so that you can get, the character can have time to have a reaction, and it's not always, the reaction is not matching what they say, if you know what I mean.
on?
There
Or
is-
always
yeah.
dialogue?
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be dialogue, you can see
No,
it in the
you
face.
can just see in their face. And no, he was great for that. And yes, the DOP, Matthew Knight, has gone on to do a whole lot more New Zealand work. He's a tutor as well at the Polytech, so he's training up the new camera people of tomorrow, which is good. But he had done a lot of TV, which meant that he was very economical in his setups and doing things quickly.
Right.
You know, I had stupidly thought I'll have to write a whole shot list, so I wrote the shot list, laid it over it, and he said, "Oh, thanks," and sort of gave it back. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. There was a lot of really, being an actor and a character actor myself, I always look at the cast, and there were so many wonderful actors in the film. I especially liked the actor who played the grandfather. I thought he was terrific, so
Yes.
real. I mean, you almost thought you just wheeled somebody in from someplace. He was so wonderful.
Yeah, I mean,
Is he a veteran character actor?
Ken is definitely a veteran character actor. He is just he's just so brilliantly professional. I just rang him up. I wasn't going to try and
I love
cast anyone
that.
else. And he lived locally. Quite a few of the people lived locally, which was brilliant. And so you got people who loved the idea, loved the film, the actual process of filming, and who understood the Kapiti landscape. I mean, that's where I live. That beautiful island you see with the sunsets, I look out on that. So, yeah.
It's a beautiful small town where everybody knew each other.
And they
everybody-
did, and that was important to the story as well. I didn't want Poppy to be a person that wasn't known in her community.
Mm-hmm. And you had other Down syndrome people that were friends.
Yep.
When she moves into the home, her new home, she had a girlfriend that was her roommate.
Yeah, well, that's right. And you sort of thought that she might end up with Luke, but no, she was sort of moving on.
Well,
she was
or
moving
she's
on.
independent and she's not
Yeah,
ready to make that
that's
commitment
right.
at 19 years old. So
Yeah, and that young
was
woman,
really-
was the first Poppy. She was the inspiration, but she got too old for the role. Unfortunately, she was in she's in mid-30s now,
Mm-hmm.
but she was just the most gorgeous young thing. And unfortunately, she didn't get the opportunities to act and do the things that she could have done, perhaps. So we were definitely going to put her in the role, and we employed her on the set as well. Yeah.
Because the guy that played David's best friend was terrific. The guy that owned the other car garage was terrific.
Yeah.
Very real. Sophie was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, she's lovely, and she's going on to do really good things.
Is she an actress that lives in New
Yes,
Zealand?
her name is Carly Kopai, and yes, she's Maori, and she has gone on to do great things. And I would cast all of the cast again in a heartbeat. You know how you actually know that they can, you know, they come and they do their job, and they just do more than their job.
There wasn't room for an American in the film at all?
There could
Maybe
have,
one that lived in another country?
yeah. Well, when we do the sequel, you know, when Poppy goes to London, perhaps.
Poppy goes to London.
Yeah.
She finds some mentor guy to
Yeah.
take care of her.
Absolutely.
And help her out and show her the ropes.
Yeah.
I think that's the best idea I can think of. So there's a bit of simpatico with this, and unfortunately your husband passed away
Yes.
last year, and it happens to be on the exact date of today.
Yes.
And also happens to be, I guess, someone that you obviously love very much, and your daughter's here.
Yes.
So we want to celebrate that and give him a big round of applause.
Thank you. That's to Ian, and he did a
Ian.
little cameo in the Porsche going past when it was Fast Wheels and Even Faster Women. And so yes, he got that cameo, and Ian was instrumental in the film. He provided the trailer for Poppy, Libby, and you know, looked after a whole lot of things. It was really brilliant, and he was I was married to him for 32 years and knew him for about 35. So
Wow.
he just died very suddenly of a heart attack. He felt no pain, so that's all we can ask for.
And it's the anniversary of his passing.
Anniversary today.
And also the first time, because of COVID, that you've been able to see it in an actual theater.
That's
With
correct.
an actual audience.
Yeah.
So this is sort
Yeah.
of a wonderful milestone
Thank you.
that coincided with having your film played in America, and hopefully this film will go on to be in other festivals.
It has
still
been.
a bit.
Yeah, it has. Well, it has been in 13 festivals altogether,
Wonderful.
which were all over the world: Finland, Singapore, US, and Ireland.
It's also-
and Cannes.
Oh my God.
It won a little Cannes award as well.
Just a small little festival that no one's
Yeah.
ever heard of. And it's also streaming. If you have any friends that you want to watch.
Yeah.
Where is it streaming on? What are
It's
the
on
platforms?
Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus, which is pretty wonderful. That's
Thank
not
you.
easy to
Yes,
get
that's
on.
IndiePix. That's a New York company that's got 2 of my other little shorts as well. So yeah, IndiePix is a great little distributor from New York.
So for some of the filmmakers in the crowd, or just for our own edification, how did you raise the money for the film?
Okay, so we had the New Zealand Film Commission decided to put out a women-only fund in honour of suffragettes, and it had been 125 years of suffragettes and voting, women's voting in New Zealand.
Wow.
So we applied for that funding and got it after applying many, many times just through the usual portal. And so that was 1.25 million. So that wasn't really enough. So we had to raise another 750,000, which we did.
So it's close to a $2 million budget.
Close,
Uh-huh.
but no cigar. Yeah, but then there's all the added stuff, and I always think with these films where people just give over and above, you never can actually quantify the value unless you put in their hourly rates. You know what I mean? And actually know what the actual true budget of a film is.
I mean,
like
when
that.
they say their rates, what someone is to be paid, what the DP usually is paid,
Yeah.
or what his quote, or the actor, what their
Yeah.
quote is paid.
Yeah.
The difference between doing a studio film and
It's like an
independent film.
It's like an independent film. New Zealand doesn't really have a film industry apart from when you think of Lord of the Rings and James Cameron's films. That those are completely separate from the rest of
Maybe you
an
should have added a
industry.
couple blue people. And
Yeah, I know.
Given you a little
I
more
know.
money. And maybe somebody that had big
Yep, the
feet and
Navi,
never washed their
exactly.
feet and was looking
Yeah.
for a ring that no one could find.
I know. I mean,
yeah.
it's really ironical, but they do not put anything into our film industry, which is a little bit of a bugbear of mine, because they can well afford to have some sort of fund, but then it's like, what would they fund? And then where people would complain because they funded this but not that.
Yeah, but it's
so
always like that in anything.
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So
It
how
is.
do you choose the things that you want to write about? And with that, how did you decide to do something about Down syndrome people?
It's a very long, long story, but I'll cut to the shorter one. I've always known a person with Down syndrome at whatever level in my life. When I was young, I remember there was a cousin called Nigel, and no one spoke about what he had. This is a long time ago because I'm reasonably old, and I've been trying to find out lately where Nigel went, because as far as I know, he just sort of disappeared. But the other thing is, I got to know Poppy, who was in the film, and also when I became pregnant at quite an old age, 43, they offered me an amniocentesis, which is tests for Down syndrome. And we had been trying for a long time, I love that term, to have a child, and was sort of given up and then suddenly pregnant. And the doctor was really amazing. I had a female doctor, and she just said to me, look, she said, if anything was wrong, or different about the baby, would you mind? And I said no. And she said, will you terminate? And I said no. And she said, okay, I would advise you not to have the amniocentesis, because the only times I've seen it go wrong have been with perfectly healthy babies. And so that was great. And so we got Eve.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's that sort of decision you make as to whether you think a baby with Down syndrome is a bad thing. And I just thought, no, not really.
it's opening up your minds and hearts to different kinds of people.
Yeah, exactly.
And not everybody is the same. And,
no.
and then to do stories about them and let other films like this, what they do for me is they show people, and just with the PSA, just because you have Down syndrome does not mean that you can't have a healthy life.
Yeah.
And have a life of your own and make your own choices.
That's right.
And live on your own and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that don't have Down syndrome. They're still living in their parents' basement.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, playing video games and
doing all sorts
So if you have any kids in your basement, don't do their laundry, don't feed them. They'll move.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
That'll happen. Also, so as a woman filmmaker, and I hate saying that because to me you're just a filmmaker, we're still saying that. I was reading something in Variety today that I think Nicole Kidman had 7 years ago decided that she was going to work with a female director every year and a half, I think it was.
Wow, she must be working a lot.
And she wound up working with, I think, an enormous amount, more than that in the last 8 years. And the women directors have gone up to 15-16% in the last couple of years, where they used to be like 3 or 4%.
Yes, it has raised, and I think it was a woman in Sweden that actually started that process as well, trying to make sure that it was a bit more even in that respect. Yeah,
we're on our way. We're not close enough.
No, but I mean, what the good thing was is I think that the female energy is really good on a set. I'm not a screamer. Okay, I've never screamed at anyone on a film set, and I think
that's why, because there are no Jews in your town.
Yeah,
if there were Jews, there'd be yelling. What are you doing?
The first assistant director, I let him yell, and he was brilliant. But what I'm saying is that people just said to me, "This is the best film set we've ever been on. This is so nice. Everyone is so pleasant." And we had to stop for a hiatus because of COVID for. I think it was about 6 weeks or 2 months or something. That's why I had those nightmares about the cast getting fat, and of course they did, except for Libby. Libby didn't, she was great. But I just had these nightmares about, because people were just sort of like, will they change a lot in that period of time?
Right.
Will they get a suntan? Because Ari's got lovely skin, and he goes quite dark, whereas Libby has beautiful white skin, and then you think, well, do they look like brother and sister? It's all these little niggles, which no one notices except,
You'll see families where people look the same. My family, my brother and sister look like me, and I always wanted to be adopted.
Yeah.
So they can't be related to these people.
Yeah. No, but the energy on the set was just so brilliant. Everyone wanted to be there, which I think is, a testament.
And this is what number film that you've directed?
This is my first and only feature film. I have written probably 16 or 17 spec scripts.
But you've also written some other things.
Yeah, I wrote, I co-wrote Secondhand Wedding, which was also set in Kapiti, which was set in our house. And that was great. That went down really well. That was sort of in the top 10 of New Zealand films ever. That again wasn't funded, and I helped raise the money for that.
And what's your plan now? Do you have something in mind for your next thing as we wrap this up?
Well, I always have something in mind, but whether it happens or not. Yes, Robin, the producer of this film, Robin Lang, she and I are adapting a book, which is a novel about a young woman who is Chinese but brought up by a Pākehā mother and a Pākehā grandmother. And no one, for various reasons, will tell her who her father is. So she takes refuge in Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee teaching and philosophy and martial art. And she also has a young friend called Charlie, who is a little person who grew up in the same school. They were childhood buddies and knew each other for many years. And then he went away, and then he comes back. And when he comes back, it sort of helps kick off the story. But it's again, it's a young woman. It's a young woman.
It's a story also about people that we don't usually see films about.
Yeah.
And especially in leading roles, we see them more now in supporting roles or small day roles. And so we've got to congratulate this Linda for the idea of her being an advocate for showing us the people on the sides and pushing them to the front. And with that said, I think we want to give Linda Nichols a great round of applause for putting together a wonderfully sweet, charming film.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here tonight. Can I throw this back to you guys? Are we done?
Can I just say one thing?
Please.
That Libby sent a message, and she said to everyone, thank you so much for recognising the film and what a great opportunity it was, and she wished she could be here, celebrating with everyone else. She's a lovely girl, and we keep in touch. We're not sort of...
We wish you could have been here too. That would have been lovely.
Yeah, would have been great. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jason. And Linda, you guys.
Thank you. And thank you. This is just fantastic.
Oh, that's pretty.
It is. It's shiny, and I do love something shiny and clear like this.
Yes. Is there an award for best host? Or
Yeah, you got it. It's in the mail.
It's in the mail.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's lovely. Thanks. And